Happy Wednesday, everybody. We made it. Sorry, we were a
Hey,
little late. We ran
what are you
out of
guys
time.
doing? Hey, Weezy.
Hi, Steve.
Yeah. Mhm.
Welcome, Bill 8. Welcome, John Wayne, Daniel Roush, Sean Hartman. Glad I got you off the couch to watch our show tonight. Shane Wyman, Scott Starbuck. Got all the Illinois boys in here. Duck Spit, Tom Wojcicki. Sorry if I butchered your name. Bill H. Aaron I. Linda Anderson. Linda, I would like to give you big hugs. Linda's father passed away in the last day. So please send out prayers and thoughts to Linda. Love you, Linda. Kramer's in the house. Copay J was first in the chat today. And Weiss is in the chat with us. And Trevor is in the house in the chat. Gary Simmons, Kurt Moore. Got a couple new people in here. Welcome and thank you. And we got a great show tonight. We're going to have Trevor on again. So we all know him. This is going to be a question answer type thing. We hope he's got his internet all taken care of. He's ready to go. So let's just start it out. Trevor.
Hi, Trevor.
Hello. Hey.
Can you hear us?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Now it's kind of scratchy. What the heck? You were pushing buttons. Yes.
I didn't push any buttons.
Oh, no. Something's happened.
Something happened?
It's not bad. It's
Yeah,
still
you're all scratchy.
Don't push buttons.
Oh. I won't push any buttons.
Oh, boy. All right. Steve, take it away.
All right. Lobbing the first question before we talk about paramotors. I'm curious of who Trevor Steele is. Like, what do you like to do outside of paramotors? What's your religion? What's your political leanings? How much debt do you have? No. If you want to spend just a couple minutes, like, just who's you? What do you like to do? And what's your life outside of paramotors?
The real Trevor Steele.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I just want to confirm you can hear me.
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. Just good, right? Decent?
Yes, it's good. We can understand you.
Okay. You can understand me. Oh no. Okay, well I will try my best. I'm so sorry. Who am I outside of paramotoring? To be honest with you, my entire life revolves around paramotoring. I don't really do anything else. I used to race motorcycles. I used to ride motorcycles all the time. I don't really do that. And oh no, is it frozen? No, it's not.
No,
I'm
you're
so
still
anxious
good.
about that. I'm sorry, guys. So yeah, I don't really do too much outside of paramotoring. Since it's not just paramotoring for me, it's a business. It's my lifestyle. It's my income source. It's other people's income source. It's all I do. I eat, sleep, and breathe it. I live here in Salt Lake City, Utah. I'm 23 years old. I have a camper, and I fly paramotors. That's kind of all. That's the basics. Oh, to answer your questions, my religious affiliation, I don't really have one. I'm not Mormon, contrary to popular belief. I don't carry any debt, and yeah, that's all that I have to say.
He answered your money question, Steve.
It's all about paramotors.
You ask, I will answer, Steve.
But I got one more follow up to that, because you've been flying since, like, what year? You've been at for what, 10 years now? 11?
2012.
2012. So you had a huge
I was 13 years young.
You had a huge change last year, and then you got out and did a bunch of stuff. And I was following you for a while, and I knew you did a bunch of stuff before you kind of went out on your own. But was this past year and your experiences and what you've done, have they been vastly different than what you've done in the past? Or did you kind of breaking out and going independent really change things up for your own personal experience?
It totally changed things up. Everything was like totally different. It was the same, but completely different. And paramotoring like opened up in a whole new world. it was almost like I was stuck in this little tiny box, little tiny bubble. And by like exiting out of the world that I used to be in, it was like popping that bubble, and now I have the whole world to explore. And so it was like everything changed. In like the littlest of things, all of a sudden my fuel economy was better, and I could go travel farther, and wings were faster, so I could actually do more, and energy was so much better in the wings, so I could get better at my wing overs and stuff. Like, funny things just changed. All of a sudden I was traveling and exploring all these locations that, although I had been to, I had like kind of flown. Then I was able to like be this free little thing and run wild with it.
Nice.
Eric said to tell you your hat's crooked.
Dang it. Dang it, my hat is crooked.
I wanted to ask, were those little flamingos on your hat?
No, it's little rocks. I got them on the Adventure Wing Run. There we go.
There you go.
Personal
There we go.
stylist helping shape my hat for me. Thank you.
All
right.
Shane Wyman.
Yep.
Shane Wyman says, question for Trevor. He loves the Drift Air vid. When am I ready for one?
When would you say you're ready for a Drift Air? I would say a Drift Air is probably like third wing, like your Spider for like the first 50 to 70 hours, then your Sirocco for like the next 50 hours, then you're kind of Drift Air. It kind of depends on the person, but I would say at fastest you're ready for a Drift Air by 100 hours. Because a Drift Air is like a really hot wing. I assume you guys probably haven't flown a Drift Air, but it's like also a really awesome wing and a really fun wing, and can be like the forever wing, the wing that you get on and you just don't ever you just don't want to stop flying. Like, there's no reason to switch because it's so fun. But you don't want to get on it too soon. So I would say somewhere between 70 and 130 hours you would switch to a Drift Air. And I see myself cutting out. You guys can still hear me, right?
Yeah, you're not cutting out on our end.
Oh, that's good, because I'm watching my screen. Maybe it's just that. But the Drift Air is probably something that you would switch to around the 100-hour mark after you're passing off your second wing and you're moving up. That makes sense. Sorry, I got so distracted. That was Judson that was stopping by, for anyone that was wondering.
Oh, I think they saw him.
I'm sure they saw him pop into the background.
Question?
What do we get?
Let's see.
Shane, you're at 85 flights on a Cosmos. I would say you're probably not ready for a Drift Air.
Let's see. Daniel Rouse just made a comment. Trevor came from the dark side to enjoy the sun.
The sun feels so good. I'll just tell you that. Man, it feels so good. It feels so good.
Yeah, what do you got for weather out there again?
Not sun, but we've had massive dust devils today, like 1,000 feet tall dust devils, which is just craziness. But it's been like sunny and super ridiculously windy out here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
We've got the snow.
Let's see.
It sucks.
Scuba said something. I shall respect the no drama, but some super dude made an inappropriate comment about Trevor. Just saying. Yep, that happens all the time.
How sudden did that transition feel like? Because you went from, working with Dell for a while, people giving you crap, and then there's that sudden change, when you went to Salt and hang out with Judson, and then it was like, boom, 4 months. And then you went from like being associated with Dell to being one of the most beloved people in the community. Like, how did that feel just to have that transition so fast? That's really unusual for a person to experience.
How did it feel to have that transition? What exact transition are you talking about? Like the warm welcoming of the community?
Yeah. Because it was pretty quick. It went from oh, go ahead.
Well, so I'll tell you this. I spent a lot of years building and leaning into people liking me. Like, it took a long time for anybody to actually want to have a conversation with me before I left. So like that was years in the making, probably 2020 to 2022 of me, trying to crack out of that shadow and show people that I'm not necessarily like Dell. And then funny enough, one of the things I was most concerned about when I was left is how the community would perceive me and whether they would accept me or reject me just because. So I was very, very, very happy when people actually welcomed me in. I was very happy. I'm still happy because it took some people a little while. I mean, it wasn't just instant. I'm still kind of working through it here and there, not that often, but there's little things here and little things there that I still have to work through.
Our reunion's difficult.
So
with
yeah, I'll
Dale?
get to that one second. Our reunion's difficult. Here's the thing with Dell. Dell's not around, so I don't see him. Like, I ran into him once in August. I went out flying with a buddy, and it just happens to be that buddy invited Dell as well. So then we just ended up flying. And I just spent the whole time chasing him around on a Viper, and it was a lot of fun because I was faster than him. But he's not really around, and so I don't really run into him in reunions. And so I haven't had that experience. But I will tell you, I tried to link up with him over Thanksgiving because I thought it would be really funny to film like a video of us at Thanksgiving dinner talking about reflex wing.
Yeah, that would
But
probably be
it never happened.
Yeah.
It'd be very
How was
entertaining for us to sit down and talk about it.
How was the transition into starting your own business? Obviously, you had experience from like working in the business, but starting out on your own and needing the capital and stuff. Like, did you get some help and support with that? Were you nervous? Was it pretty stressful for you?
No, it wasn't stressful at all. Thankfully, I didn't need any help with the capital, although I have a handful of investors that would have thrown me money. And I was fortunate enough that since July of 2020, I had been fully running Dell's company. So in July of 2020, I took over Flat Top from him because he was going through a divorce. And I was running everything, like everything. He did nothing. He lived in the Philippines pretty much. And so as far as like running a business, understanding a business, I'm just naturally kind of that way. And then I had the opportunity to spend basically 2 years running a company, with 2 years prior to that assisting in running the company. So when I left, it was like the same thing I was doing before, pretty much identical, just my money was on the line, not his.
Yeah.
Which was maybe scary when I dropped like, a lot of money on Paramotor stuff right away.
And do you have people assisting you with training, or is it mostly your work?
I have probably 6 or more instructors that cycle through. So I've got a whole team of people. Everybody that used to help me down in Texas has transitioned over. So this last class, I think I had 5 or 6 instructors, and then I have a couple more that I can pull from if I need them. I've got like I have a really strong team. People that I've spent years and years and years and years working with, building trust with, building a relationship with, and most importantly, like teaching them how I operate, kind of like duplicating how I do things, as well as people that will tell me no and tell me their opinion. And so it's a really good structure that I have going on with the team that I have, because it's like, if they disagree with something and they see it, a way to make it better, then we'll have that disagreement and we'll, work towards a better solution. And I'm super grateful for that. Right now, I'm kind of in the works of starting a second team because I want to run 2 classes kind of side by side. But I don't want to grow too fast and strain all capital reserves too quickly.
So Eric's got a question. How's the school going? How many students do you have per month, and what's the future going to bring you?
School's going like way better than I expected it to. We're averaging 6 students a month, and I could probably bump that to 10 if I could run 2 classes a month, or if I could run a larger class, which I prefer to only run 6 students in a class. And so right now it's 6 beginner students a month, 4 advanced students a month. Or 5 advanced students. Everything is full. My May classes are all full. My June advanced class is full. My June beginner class is almost full. My August beginner class is half full. My September has students and my October has students. So it's really, really, really busy, and I'm like really grateful for it, because when you start a business, you have no idea what to expect, and I had no idea if it was going to be like a smashing success and people were actually going to care about learning from me or the team or the system I have, or if people were just going to like see me as that little bell thing and push me away. And so I'm so grateful that I have had the success so far and hope that the success continues. And Nick, you're right. I am super busy.
So when you
it's
say
15 days a month.
beginner and then advanced class, what's the advanced class?
Yeah.
Is it just getting more comfortable doing things or learning maneuvers?
So the advanced class is designed to make flying easier, safer, and more fun. So
Okay.
for a lot of people, it's, they're maybe not having the best landings and they would like to just be with an instructor for 4 days and focus on landings. Okay, great. Let's focus on landings. Or some of the guys are like, hey, my wing overs, I don't feel like are super great. Can you help me? Okay, great. Let's go do some wing overs and I'll work with you on the timing. And it's kind of like this second, this level 2, you could say. For some, it's like a level 3 of come here and let's spend time together. And it's not just me, there's other instructors at the advanced training as well. And it's how can we help you? Because when you get let loose from your beginner training, you might be able to do it, but you might not be super confident and you might just want like that little extra help. And so that's kind of what the advanced training was geared toward, as well as like there's a lot of things you don't know as you go. Like you kind of learn just enough to like be able to fly on good days with like just a little bit of wind, but you don't understand all the advanced things. And unless you have somebody near you that you can lean on and who can teach you, you kind of just wing it and you kind of self-teach yourself as you go. And so the advanced training was like, let's kind of fix that. And it's been a huge success. And I've watched the industry kind of adopt it and start offering it. There's PPG 3 classes, far more common now. There's plenty of other schools running advanced classes. Because it's a thing that everybody should be doing. It's a thing that I think everyone should at some point go to.
Right.
And you can never learn too much. And there's bad habits that you're bound to build. And having somebody sit there and look at you and watch you fly, can critique those bad habits, is a big help. And it's a must. I think it's a must.
People
So
go
what do
to
you
Trevor
have
and it's like, hey, I'm stuck flying like Steve Minty. Can you help me out?
So what do you have for
Yeah.
beginner class? Is it like a week long or is it amount of 25 flights and then you graduate, or how are you operating?
It's 10 days.
10 days.
It's 10 days. So
And how many flights are
beginner
you trying to get in?
That is as many as they are capable of doing.
Okay.
I try not to set a minimum. I try not to set a max, because you can't guarantee somebody's going to reach a certain amount of flights in a certain amount of days. If you try and do so, you're going to push them past their exhaustion point where they start making more, they start performing poorly, and or you are putting them in the air prematurely when they're not ready to be in the air and you're putting them at additional risk. Neither of those things am I a fan of. So I would much rather a student leave the class with 10 flights, but all 10 flights mattered. And all 10 flights went well because you were energetic, you weren't exhausted, you weren't completely depleted of energy. I wasn't like pushing you to absolute exhaustion, and all 10 flights went well, versus like you got 15 flights, 10 were okay, you broke a prop on 4 of them. So I actually slow that pace down. Now, to add to that, if a student doesn't get as many flights as they would like to, they're welcome to come back to other classes for free. And I love to have people come back. That's kind of separate from the advanced training. They go closely together, but the advanced training is like 4 dedicated days to something else. And so, I shoot for as many flights as they physically can handle, whether that is 50 or 100 or 5. It is however many they can physically handle without pushing them past physical exhaustion. Because when someone's tired, they start making more mistakes. And I can immediately see when like they're doing something they weren't doing before because they're tired, and that just leads to them falling down or face planting or having a bad experience. And it's super important when they're new that you minimize the bad experiences, because it's so important that every time they go fly when they're new is a pleasant experience, or as pleasant as possible, you should say.
Within the last 2 years, has your perspective or attitude or style of teaching changed from when you're teaching down like Corpus to now running your own
it's
school?
totally different. It's totally different. The way
And I
teach
asked that
now
because like
versus
when
the way
I first
taught-
started, I had a little back and forth with you, I kind of remember. And I was just kind of curious, like, especially with like maybe students that are struggling and they're not picking it up as quickly, because yeah, you do have a certain segment of people that it's just not for them. They're not going to get it. And sometimes you got to want it badly enough. But I'm just wondering if you've noticed any difference the last couple of years for yourself.
100%. I've noticed a lot of things. So there's this idea that like anybody can teach you to fly, and I strongly disagree with that. And the reason I say that is because I look at the success rate that I was having down in Texas, and it wasn't necessarily that me, like I could only control so much in Texas. I could only control so much at Super Training. I really had like very little room to wiggle. But I look at like the result of the students. I look at the result of, you know, the class as a whole over a long period of time. And then I look at like the first few classes I did, and I look at the classes I do now. And there is a huge difference between the classes I, like in August last year and the classes now. I have learned so much more. My team and I have learned so much more on how to safely take a person from A to Z with as little, what could you say, as little oopsies as possible. Like we've learned just so much more about that process and so much more about managing people, understanding how to teach them, understanding how to get points across, little things like how to introduce a piece that people tend to struggle with in 3 different ways so they can kind of pick up on that, how to manage energy and how to push only to a certain point, and you know how much do you push one guy versus another guy. Needless to say, like there's a lot we have learned, and I've realized there's a huge difference between just a paramotor school and like a really good paramotor school. And I'm not trying to claim I'm a really good paramotor school. There's plenty of really good paramotor schools, but there's definitely a difference. And there's definitely a difference in the way that we do things from August to now, and 100% a difference from Super Training to now. It's night and day. Like it's totally night and day.
All right, we got a bunch of questions. Scott's wanting to know, are you
Got a
teaching
lot of questions.
USPPA?
Kind of, sort of. I took their syllabus and I did a bit of a spin on it, on things that I agreed with, things I didn't agree with, added things to it. So it's structured similarly, but there's things that I do that are different than the USPPA. I pass out certifications if people would like me to. I'll pass out P1s, P2s if people would like me to pass them out, but I don't, you could say, require my students to do so.
Okay. Duckspit wants to know, is the Drift Air a hoax flex wing? Asking for a friend.
It is a reflex wing. It is a
Okay.
reflex wing.
Next one. Have you ever done an SIV? What's it like?
I have not done an SIV. I've never done an SIV. I was going to do one this April, but I had to choose between running classes and generating revenue for the business or going and playing, and ultimately I decided that the business took a higher priority over me.
You have a different opinion on SIVs though, don't you?
A little bit.
thought I
I
remembered.
think people go to SIVs a little prematurely. Like, I'm a big advocate that people wait longer before going to SIVs. For some, it makes sense. For others, it doesn't.
Shane's asking, how much experience for advanced training?
A minimum of 5 flights.
Oh, okay. And
Well,
do you work with Superfly Chris at all?
You'd have to define what you mean by work, but I do visit Chris's shop all the time. I buy things from him, and I see him at the point of the mountain, and I refer my students to go learn from him and get into PG from him if they're interested. I think Chris is great. I try and spend as much time with Chris as possible.
Cool.
You ever have an interest in teaching free flight?
Yeah, I do have an interest in teaching free flight. But like teaching free flight here at the point of the mountain, there's a lot that goes into it. And in order to be a free flight instructor, the requirements are pretty hefty. And I don't feel I'm quite ready for it. Like I know how to free fly. I've done it. But I feel like I need to get more experience under my belt before I'm ready to kind of take the reins on running a class.
Sarah's asking, Do you need to bring your own equipment, or do you supply equipment if you go to your classes?
Beginner training, it's all provided in the class. Advanced training, you can rent it for, I think it's 100 or 150 a day.
Can you bring your own?
You sure can.
Okay. And one more. Jeremy's asking, what fly-ins do you plan on attending this year?
I will be going to Endless Foot Drag, flying in September.
Yes.
Probably the only one.
Yeehaw.
Cool. Hopefully I can meet you
moved
finally
the
in
schedule
person.
around so I could go. Yeah, that'll be fun.
Good.
Well, we should film
Yeah.
one of these in person. It'd be way more fun.
Yes. Well, then you better come to Northern Lights fly-in in Wisconsin.
I have a whole lot of no time. Next year. Next year's my travel year. Next year's the travel year. This year is not the travel year.
There won't be snow by the time we have the fly-in, at least. Hopefully.
It's in July, isn't it?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
All right. James is asking, saw your review on the Drifty. Have you seen Mitch G's review on it? He made it seem like it was almost better than the Warp 1. Seeing your review, it seems like it's just a step above the Speedster.
So it is a step above the Speedster and Sirocco. Technically, it's a different type of wing from a Warp. A Warp is more so, at least from the perception that I've gotten, the Warp 1 wasn't quite this way, but the Warp lineup is more so cross-country focused. The Snake is more so like slalom. The Drifty falls more under that slalom category and like the playing and kind of like the all-arounder. The Warps are more so focused on cross-country. The Warp 1 was kind of both. Does that make any sense? So it's just a whole lot of jumbo-mumbo. Needless to say, I do think if I had to choose between a Warp 1 and a Drifty, I'd probably pick the Drifty. It just was a little bit more easy to use. Launches were easier, landings were easier. It carried energy just like the Warp 1, if not better. It was just as playful, just as fun, because I owned a Warp 1. If I had to choose a Drifty and a Warp 2, I don't know, that one would be tough. I'd probably still lean Warp 2 because it's more cross-country focused than the Warp 1 was and than the Drifty is. And that's really what I do here. I love to just explore because there's endless things to explore. And so that's what I would say. I would say it's probably on par with the Warp 1, if not like a little bit better.
Scott Starbeck would like to know why you are not a member of the USPPA.
I am.
Yeah.
You are a member?
I am a member. I'm an instructor, and I actually texted Noah today and asked to become an instructor administrator, which is something we've been talking about for a while. I would like to make that happen soon.
Good.
Okay. Would Trevor ever work with the USPPA to improve training and make this sport as safe as possible?
Yes, actually, Noah's the president of the USPPA, for those that don't know, I'm sure most all of you know, have already had extensive conversations around this topic, and we've been meaning to sit down and kind of co-run a class together to see what we could learn from each other. And I would love to offer up what I know, because I come with like a weirdly unique perspective, given I have like the whole Dell world, the whole super training like structure, as well as like everything else. So I come in with like these two different worlds together and kind of mesh them together into one. And I think it's something I don't really see elsewhere. And I'd love to add that into things. And I know like Aviator would love to add that in, and the USPPA have talked about adding it in, and like a bunch of schools would probably love to have kind of the stuff that I learned from super training.
Great. So speaking of super training, do you retrain super students?
Yeah, all the time. Tomorrow I start retraining a super student. And my next class I have a couple, and the next class I have a couple.
All right.
Do you
And
get
then,
students that are pretty far and wide, or do you get a lot of locals too that are building a community that just keep flying with you?
I have a guy from Switzerland and a guy from Iceland coming.
Ooh.
So all over. All over.
That's
Jeremy
kind of
says-
fun when that happens. I had like a guy from Kuwait come in and just came in and blasted through it all. I keep seeing him.
Yeah, I love having people from around the world. I think it's cool. I think it's cool.
Yeah. Go ahead, Louise.
I was just going to say, Jeremy says to tell him that the USPPA is watching.
Yep.
Ooh.
Louise, go ahead.
Bill H says, does he sell parts like carabiners? Do you have a storefront?
I don't have a storefront yet, but I do sell every part. I sell everything. Everything.
How do
Carabiners
they
are actually
do?
on my website if you're interested.
Yeah.
The BackCountry PPG website has a whole lot of stuff: paramotors, paragliders, accessories, harnesses, reserves. Everything is available through there.
Okay.
Here's a question. Big Nick Fulmer. So how traumatic is it going from flying a flat top to a normal paramotor frame?
Actually, I'll be honest with you. It's a really difficult thing for flat top people. The reason it's so difficult is because in order to get into flying a flat top, unless you just buy one used off eBay for whatever reason, like if you buy a brand new one through the system, you have to so deeply believe everything that's being told to you. Like you really have to believe to your core what you're being told. And what that means and what we call it is the Kool-Aid, right? You have to drink the Kool-Aid, you have to believe it, because if you don't, then there's enough reason for you to go and do something else. And so when you're switching away from the flat top, you have to like fight this internal battle that everything that you believed is wrong, because it's really one side or the other side. And so you have to fight this internal battle of like, okay, well, I thought that. Now, am I wrong? Was I wrong this whole time? Is that really the case? And so you go through this like kind of long process where you battle it in your mind, and you go back and forth in your mind of like, I believe that, but now that's what I'm actually experiencing, and that's what I'm seeing, and now the reality is not matching up with what I believed for so long. And so it's actually a difficult process to get over what I call the Kool-Aid, including wings. Like it can be a 6, 9, 12-month process. I'm still slowly I'm still slowly draining Kool-Aid from people that I started draining back in like July. So it's a lot of stuff. It's a lot of stuff. It's a lot of mind battles because you have to believe it so much.
So you can't really explain this question because it's a lot of things intermingled.
Actually, I could explain it really quickly.
Okay.
What part of super training do I retrain? Yeah, because I retrain so much. Here's kind of the biggest things that I retrain from super training. The first one is independence. When you go to super training, your hand is held the entire time. You typically don't hook yourself in. You typically have somebody like help you bring the wing out, put the wing away, start the motor, prime the motor, get in. Everything is kind of done for you. Like you just kind of walked through the whole process. So you don't really have independence, as I call it. When you go home and now it's just you, like there's such a learning curve to it, and you kind of have to self-teach yourself because you didn't get that process. Like the silliest little things of like, how do you start your motor? And you laugh, like, what do you mean you don't learn how to start your paramotor at super training? You don't. Like, you don't learn it. I constantly answer questions about how to start paramotors from prior super students. I was always answering those questions. And so the first one is kind of like the independence of like, now you're doing it by yourself, which is funny because now I've gone to the complete opposite side here with the school. And I just like press independence so hard that starting on day 2, I'm pretty much not hooking people in. I'm not grabbing controls. I'm not walking wings out. I'm not putting wings away. Not because I don't want to, not because I'm not willing to help, but because independence is the most important part. And so starting on day number 2, people are doing it all by themselves. First flights are already done by themselves. Second flights are done by themselves. I'm on radio. Obviously, I'm walking them through the flight, but they're hooking in. They're starting the motor. They're pre-flighting. They're priming. All the little things that you just do in the process of flying, they do without my help. I'm there as soon as they start to inflate that wing to kind of walk them through that. So that's kind of the first one. The second one is forward launches. Like that's kind of the biggest one. Nobody from the super training world knows how to do forward launches. You just don't learn that. When you go to the beach and it's blowing 10, 20 miles an hour every single day, like you never learn to do a forward launch. So I have to teach them how to hook in for a forward launch. I have to teach them how to do forward launches because they don't know how to do them. So they go home and they've never done a forward launch at training. Now they try 3, they blow them, they catch a line in the prop, and they're out waiting for a line and all this stuff. So that's a lot of the stuff. Tomorrow morning, the guy that's coming to town, who's a good friend of mine, who went through super training last year in April, the first thing he wants to do is learn how to hook in for a forward. So that's all we're going to do. We're just going to practice hooking in, practice inflations, and practice forward launches. Just the little stuff that just kind of gets neglected at super training, I fix. And I'm sure you could talk to most anybody who runs a school that's ever had a super training student come through it. Like, you have to retrain a lot of the basic stuff. They know how to kite, but they don't know how to do anything else. And so they're not a well-rounded pilot. They don't really know how to go home and actually fly by themselves. There's a really steep learning curve to it, which leads to a really low success rate. So that, like, super training success rate is shockingly low because there's no independence. You don't know how to do the little things. As soon as you go home, you're like told that you know what to do, but you have no idea how to do any of it. And so I've worked really hard to fix that. And I work really hard to help super students learn that and help in that process.
We need a label for Trevor students, like Trev students or godly students. Oh yeah, Trevor, train them.
So we call them super duper students. Super duper
All right.
students, man.
Brian Meese has one question. He says, do you no longer offer package discounts for training and equipment? It's disappeared from your website.
I do still offer, I think it's a $609 discount. I need to hop on there and add it. The reason why I removed it, to answer his question, is because pricing changed on things, and I hadn't gone through to update it. So instead of trying to like sit down at that moment and fix it, I just removed it. But yes, I do offer a $609 discount if you purchase package through me. And that includes after the training. Like, if you come through the training class and a few months later you want a full package, I still offer that discount.
Cool. All right, we're going to take a break here.
Full package.
We're going to take a break here, and we're going to do thumbs up, and we're going to do a little, if you got to go get a drink, go to the restroom, come on back, be back in a minute.
There are so many questions.
Steve is going to get the spinny wheel going because, Trevor, you've got something ready?
Sure. Yeah, whatever you want.
All right, Steve, you got the spinny wheel. So if you guys have not made a comment and you're in the chat, make a chat, post something in the chat. So
do you want to do the spinning wheel right now?
We can, sure.
And what are we giving away?
I'm gonna. You can give away shirts. You can give away hats. You can give away whatever you want. You tell me what you want to give away.
Give away, Trevor.
Shirts.
Shirts.
All right.
Hey, giving away a shirt.
Ooh, man, that is greasy. Hey, I can actually plug in Trevor. This Spin This Wheel is brought to you by BackCountry PPG. Trevor's not paying me $1 for this, but I am going to show for him because that is what I do. God,
don't you feel good tonight? You can actually say it without
getting I know. This is my favorite night.
How exciting.
I have no life. Oh, we got Tom. Maybe it's going to be Duck Spit. Come on, Duck Spit. Yeah, that is what I'm
when you're ready,
about.
I have a question I want to answer.
Dang.
I did not expect that. I did not expect that.
You had a question?
Well, so there's a question that was asked that we kind of skipped over that I'd like to answer. We can answer it once you're done giving away shirts.
Oh, continue. Go ahead.
Okay. Well, James, a few minutes ago, asked a question. I'll read it to you guys and then I'll answer it. How long before you get your cousin to come work for you? And has he secretly flown other stuff than a Dominator? He actually asked to come work for me for this April class, and I didn't necessarily need his help. He may help me in May, and I did get him on an AWOC 3. So there's your answer to that question.
Good. All right, and then Eric is saying, does Trevor realize that he will probably end up with the biggest PPG school in the USA in the near future?
I don't realize. I would be very honored and humbled.
Eric Fairwell's like...
He keeps trying to get me to come to Florida and teach a class with them, and he wants me to work at Aviator.
Luis, go ahead.
Jeremy says, can you ask Trevor to talk about his wing, progression It sounds like he's flown the Dominator for years, but how much experience does he have with other wings?
Good question. I flew Dominator for 10 years. I have flown other wings for, 9 or 10 months now. That's it. I really exited the Dominator world in July, and I got onto a Viper 5. I spent probably 3-4 months on a Viper 5, and then I got onto a free ride for probably 3 or 4 months, and I've been on a warp for about 3 or 4 months. And Brian, don't worry, I'm not going to Aviator.
Which wing do you like best?
I love the Aviator crew, though. Say again?
Which wing do you like best?
It depends on what I'm trying to do. Right now, I'm really enjoying my Warp 2, but if I was trying to do just wing overs and barrel rolls, I'd much rather have like a free ride 2. So it kind of depends on the mission. I would say that the Warp 2 is taking the cake right now.
Okay. What meter do you fly?
18.
18.
18.
I fly an iambic pentameter meter. Yeah.
What?
Poetry. I'll tell you when you're older.
Okay.
Ed wants to know, have you ever pushed your personal limit?
Oh yeah. I've pushed it many times. I can tell you guys the story of every time I've pushed the limit.
There's this group called Trevor Flies Through Horrible Turbulence on Facebook. You can check it out.
I do fly through turbulence all the time. I've pushed. Do you want to know the story? Do you want me to tell you the stories a couple times of pushing my personal limits?
Yeah.
So the funniest one is I flew into a porch.
Oh yeah.
I was doing something dumb.
You've told this story.
And I flew into my uncle's porch. That was probably the dumbest. And then the next time I was doing wingtip drags on the beach, and it was kind of the first time I'd ever done wingtip drags, and I crashed pretty good that time. And then I pushed. I've pushed my limits way far on the Adventure Wingman trip. Like I pushed way beyond anything I had ever done before. Thankfully, I didn't get hurt on that one.
Randy wants to know.
Oh, go ahead.
No, go.
Randy Milstead wants to know, how many props have you broke?
Randy, I'm so sorry. I have been breaking props for 11 years. I do not remember, nor do I want to know. Not many would be my guess. I would probably say under 20 props, which is probably quite a few. But
well, that's not too bad.
I've done a fair amount of damage with. Say again.
That's not really too bad for as many years as you've been flying.
Yeah. I was lucky.
Yeah.
So Duckspit's saying that he's already got a backcountry shirt. So spin again. Thanks, Duckspit.
All right. Suppose. Well, Duckspit, give me your shirt, and you can take a new one.
We got Walter in the house.
I got a
see.
whole box of them.
I want a shirt.
Oh, he said to give it to James. Wait, no, he didn't. James is saying that. Way to go, James. Oh, Duckspit, you flew to your own camper?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I remember. Tell me that.
That's another level. Did you do some damage?
To be fair, he is really tired. He was just trying to go to bed.
Oh, okay. He wanted to get to bed right then.
Yeah. Ooh, is it going to be
Chris Quinn?
Chris. Or is it Walter?
Is it about
Chris.
All right, get ready for that Australia shipping. Oh, yeah, we got Chris. Yes.
All right, congrats, Chris.
Nice. Oh, Brian.
Chris, just
Brian,
message me and let me know his size, and we'll let Trevor know. So.
Sweet. Yeah, just tell me how. Brian, I think Trevor should make a shirt called Born Again. I made a lot of shirts called I Drank the Kool-Aid and Survived and Owl Lives Matter, and I decided not to release any of those. But I did think of making a lot of funny shirts.
Oh, Chris Crystal's watching this. Screw you, Chris. Oh, wait, he can beat me up.
Speaking of Chris Crystal, I don't know if you're going to be able to see this. I can't get. Oh, wait, hang on. We've got some Illinois boys in here that I told I wanted to share their fly-in coming up, and it is called the Corn Buzzard fly-in, June 8th through the 11th.
I will say Sean Hartman has the biggest selfie stick in the entire community. He makes us all nervous.
So if you're interested, grab that QR code if you want. It's in Palmyra, Illinois, and it's again June 8th through the 11th. So I'm hoping maybe we can maybe get down there also.
Apparently, I'm a sponsor of that, so it's a big deal.
Sorry, Walter.
You're just a big deal, man.
Yeah, I don't hear
All
that
right.
from anybody.
Everybody's saying the wheel's rigged, spinny wheel. All right. Any other questions for Trevor? Or Trevor, tell us what.
Nick, that's kind of a funny shirt. I might make that, Nick. Sorry, I don't know if you guys are watching the comments, but Nick kind of made a funny one.
Fine.
Yeah.
So I got a question for Trevor.
Okay.
Well, a lot of our audience and people in general, it's a lot of pilots under 100 hours. What would you say is your best advice for people when they're progressing or what gear they're upgrading to? Not just for people trying to move too fast, but maybe people who are just too timid and lack the self-confidence for, skills that they've actually built up to.
What was your question?
So
what's my advice to people like that?
Advice to people that are under 100 hours for their progression, mistakes that you see. Obviously, people are going to move too fast, but there's going to be people that move too slow as well, just because they might just be more timid in nature.
I actually think that the biggest thing that I could tell anybody 100 hours is patience is your friend. Because oftentimes where people find themselves crashing, breaking equipment, or getting hurt is because there was a rush. There was a rush. There was a need to be doing something that maybe you didn't need to do. And the thing I press most is to have patience, because this is a sport that you'll do for a long time. This could be a forever sport, something you do for years and years and years and years and years. So why be in a rush? Why be in a rush? Take your time, have patience, and just progress slowly. Like, take your time. Like, there's a difference between skill and experience. Skill you can build quickly, experience you can't. And experience is far more valuable than skill. And in order to gain experience, you got to do it. So I'm just a big fan of taking your time, progressing slowly, knowing your limits, and slowly pushing those limits farther and farther. What I would say for people that are a little timid is to go be around people that are better. Not people that are reckless, people that are better, people that have great judgment, people that make good decisions, people that know limits, know their boundaries, and are maybe just on a level above you. And just being around people that are better than you will kind of help you pop out of the bubble. You'll see them doing stuff. You'll start to pick up on things. When you watch someone do something, you're more inclined to do it as well. And that could be a bad thing if you're trying to copy somebody who's like really, really good or really reckless. But it also can be a beautiful thing. Like, if you come fly with somebody who's just like super dialed, you can pick up on things and they can give little inputs and they can help guide you. That's part of the reason why I suggest an advanced training. Like, if somebody is in that spot of really timid and or trying to push too fast, that's perfect time to come to an advanced training, because then you're going to be in the hands of an instructor who's either A, going to help you progress, or B, help you see that you're rushing and trying to do something too quickly. And so that's probably what I would say.
Very good. Everybody's agreeing with you on that.
That's right.
Brian,
that's funny. Took me 10 years to empty my Kool-Aid container. Hey, man, it was a slow leak, okay? It was a slow leak.
We want to know what apps Trevor is using.
Refilled. Every time it started emptying, man, it just kept getting refilled. The Kool-Aid
He
factory
uses Humble. I've seen him on it. He's got a great profile.
I don't want to know that, because he probably is. What was the question? Oh, what apps do I use?
Yeah.
I use FlySky HY, Gaggle, XCNav, Windy, and MyRadar. Those are all of my apps.
Okay.
Jeremy also wants to know if you
apps.
ever had to throw a reserve.
No, I've never had to throw a reserve. And I
With
would
all the
credit
turbulence he
never-
flies in, never.
Never thrown a reserve. Here's what I would credit not ever throwing a reserve to. Number one was patience, and number two is I always had an instructor, aka my uncle, with me to tell me no or yes. In the sense that if I was pushing too quickly or doing something dumb, I would pretty quickly get told it's not a smart idea. You probably shouldn't do that. And so I kind of had these like boundaries to bounce off down this progression line. And that's, you know, kind of the reason why I did the whole advanced training thing, is to offer that to other people. But I also know when to say no. I also know when it's too much for me. I also know not to give in to other people's, peer pressure. I have the willingness and the discipline to say no. If I drive out and it's bad weather, I say no. If I'm flying with someone and they're doing something stupid and I don't agree with it and I feel the temptation to do it, I say no. Those things have probably saved me from ever throwing a reserve.
Ed wants to know, who do you look up to?
Judson
Who
Graham.
do I look up to? I look up to
Who's your
Judson
mentor?
Graham. Dude, he's got just the best style in the house. Let's be real. Who's my mentor? I don't. In what sense?
Hot buttered
Flying.
Steve. No.
In flying, I can't say I necessarily have a mentor in flying,
Okay.
and I can't say I necessarily have anybody that I look up to. I would love to. I don't really.
He's
Like,
not
there's not really
conceited.
anybody
He's
you could-
convinced.
I don't even know what you mean.
It's a little Richard joke. Never mind.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
Fly Swamper is asking, I know you said you haven't thrown a reserve at a reserve packing clinic. Our local hang gliding group has an annual event where they let us also come, PPG guys, and get to throw and pack. That's cool.
That's sweet.
All right. Everybody
got a
agrees
question for Trevor.
bagel is good.
Where do you
Let's
want to
see.
be in like 10 years? What's your hopes and dreams? Like what do you think is really going to let your own personal sparks fly that you want to get to?
In what sense?
Paramotors.
In paramotoring?
Yeah. Or are you just kind of living it
I'm
now?
gonna
Are
have-
you just happy now? And it's like, this is it. I'm kind of doing
Nope.
what I want to do.
Nope. I'm gonna have a BackCountry PPG airport. It's already in the works. I'm gonna have my own land, my own hangar, my own thing, something that people can come to, run training classes. I'm probably gonna have a team fully dedicated to running the training program, so that I can kind of step back from that and more so be involved in either operations and or even delegate that and hire that out, so that I can kind of step back and be involved in a larger vision of things. But the key is going to be delegation, building a team, building a structure, building a business that can function without me, so that I'm not a slave to the game. That's the key. That's the goal.
So am I hireable? I mean, just be honest with me.
What skills do you have?
None whatsoever.
I don't know.
Crap.
Are you teachable?
Maybe. You're gonna have to find
Right.
out.
That's the potential.
Brian would like to hear Trevor's thoughts on throwing a reserve, just so you have the experience.
Yeah. If you have the opportunity to throw a reserve, like an SIV, 100% take it. I just haven't had that opportunity. Otherwise, I would take it.
All right.
I throw mine every flight. Just
Any other questions in the chat?
I'm
That's funny.
looking now, see if we got any.
Oh, we'll have plenty more questions. Don't you worry. We could keep going for another hour if you want. Why cut it short? I'm sure I could find a way to talk you into it. Maybe I'll straighten my hat so that it looks a little better for the next hour.
No,
You know?
crooked.
I'll join you.
A little more
Yeah.
crooked. All right, I'll work on the crooked. I've been growing the hair out, so I've got this long hair these days. But I'll put the hat on for you.
So Montana
Location.
says, don't throw for fun. You'll wreck your gear. Knowing from experience he has, Montana.
Yes, you will. It's a reserve toss. Okay, we can talk about the mindset behind a reserve toss, but a reserve toss is not necessarily a fun thing. It's an ordeal, you could say. It's an ordeal. But the mindset behind it, Chris Santacroce, here, now you got me going on a bit of a rant, so I'm going to go with it. Chris Santacroce has a really good video about reserves that he filmed a couple years back. And his video in, like, real quick is that you should just be so excited to see your reserve. Like, just so excited to see your reserve. If you're at all questioning it, just be so excited to grab it, throw it, and figure out what color it is. Because if you're excited about getting your reserve out in a moment of, not good, then you get it out faster. Versus the hesitation. What you don't want is that, like, hesitation of, maybe I can make it work. I don't want to get in the water. I don't want to hit the ground and break my gear. I don't want to do those things. Now it's been 3 more seconds. No, if stuff's getting ugly, just get the reserve out and just be so excited that it opened and that you're coming down on it, and figure out what color it is, because I don't know what color my reserve is. Anyways, there's my reserve rant for 2 minutes. That is one of the things we do talk about here at the class, the backcountry PPG.
Was there even a reserve in this pouch? Oh, yeah.
Oh, dang it. No, I don't want to say that. Let me tell you, the worst reserve is the one sitting in the back seat of your truck. Just gonna leave that right there.
Like a steel
That's all I
reserve?
have to say.
Those things are nasty.
No, like the one that you bought that day and then realized it's sitting in the back of your truck, and then you were like, oh, maybe I need that, and it's in the back of your truck. That's the worst reserve. Buy a reserve, install the reserve, and install it in a way that's not easily removable. Oh, Chris, that's a good question. Okay, so serious question. What would you tell your students if they asked why kiting is so important when the trike guys are just as safe and they do hardly as much? Okay, so they're not just as safe. Glider control directly translates over to in-flight flying, meaning if you hit turbulence and your wing starts to do really wonky things, it starts to try and overfly you, it surges, it does any of those things. That is a skill set that you actually learn on the ground. That's something that repetition on the ground, practicing, letting it surge and catching it, what that feels like in the risers. That skill set that you learn on the ground directly translates to the sky. Same thing with, if your wing inflates and you don't really have control, don't really know what it feels like when it tries to overfly, and you ease off throttle, you hit a bump, now it overflies, takes a full frontal, goes in your prop. There is no reason that there's no situation where more glider control is not helpful. Like, the better you are at glider control, the better you are at kiting, the better you will be as a pilot on the ground and in the air. It's really impressive if you can keep control of that wing extremely well on the ground, especially trikes. Because, like, trikes can get away with launching with a lot of oscillation and no glider control, but that will bite you at some point. It will roll you, it will lift you and slam you into the side. It's not smart. The more glider control that you can have, the better. The safer you will be, the better pilot you will be, the better your progression is going to be, the better you will perform as you start understanding energy, as you start understanding all of those things. More understanding in reflex, in your muscle memory and reflexes of that wing and how it handles, the better you're going to be as you go. And so we press it hard. Like, that's one of the things that we do that I'd say we do best, as humbly as I can say that, is glider control. And it shows in the students. You can watch as the students have control of their wings at all times. And that just makes launches more successful, landing smoother, comfort in turbulence, understanding of wings, understanding of frontals, energy, surges, all of that stuff better. Sorry to go on a rant about glider control.
No, but you're fine.
Yeah.
Jeremy wants to know, what can the USPPA do better?
Glider control. Glider control.
All right. And Brian says,
sorry, I'm reading through the comments. Go ahead.
I think Trevor is more about making better pilots and making the sport more open to others. I agree.
So Trevor, when we first started, before we went live, you did ask us the question, like, what are you going to do if you have to use the bathroom during this? Well, I just totally got up and left while you were talking and just did my thing. It is that easy.
Well, you lucky guy.
That's what I'm talking about.
We needed to know that.
Yeah. I'm very glad you told me. I was actually really
Knowledge is
wondering where you
power,
went
and
at
I'm
the
here to
moment.
keep people safe and comfortable.
TMI.
Thank you.
Here, Daniel Rausch made a good point. If you can't control it on the ground, you have no reason to be in the air. Very true.
Agreed. Because, well, yeah, glider control pays off big time in turbulence. Like, active piloting really is just glider control. So, like, if you're worried about turbulence, if you're worried about that stuff, be better at glider control. Oh, we have a special guest appearing in the background.
Uh-oh.
Uh-oh. You were asked to return, so you may need to make an appearance.
Is it Judson?
Yeah, we are live. It is the one and only Judson Graham. The only Judson Graham right here.
Judson.
I only like him
I
for
don't think
his
they can
hair.
hear you. Because you have to like talk into the ear. Yeah, you can take one. Here you go.
Some burly stuff right here.
There you go.
Hey, he owns more than one type of sweatshirt. Nice.
Oh yeah, you see that one a lot. I like that one.
Yeah, that colorful one that you bought right before the Adventure Wingman?
Yeah.
Judson, what are you flying now?
Yes. I don't know. Just all sorts of different stuff right now.
Okay.
Anything and everything.
Yeah, anything Trevor lets me fly.
All right.
We're at,
Who's on here right now?
dude, we got 52 friends watching right now.
Hi, people.
Yeah.
Hello, friends. We were just talking about glider control. Would you like to add something about glider control? I know you're very good at glider control.
It's
And
pretty
I think
overrated. Totally overrated.
It's definitely 100% overrated.
Yeah, just trim out, trust the reflex, and like don't even learn how to kite.
Don't learn to kite, just inflate and run.
It's a waste of time, really.
No, I think my advice for glider control would be if you watch like Alex Mateos or Trevor fly, like their hands really don't move that much. So I think generally what I see is we're trying to over control the glider, and a lot of the incidents we get into, whether it's stalling on a launch or somebody takes a collapse and then spins the opposite side, it's just over control. And so if you're just kind of flying around and staying really loose and keeping a little bit of pressure on the brakes and then following the pressure in the glider as we go through turbulence, like if one side gets light, we're going to follow that down until we feel the pressure again. If we're basically just doing that type of thing, we're out of 95% of the trouble, I think. Would you agree? And then just kite like way more than you think.
Can you guys hear Judson?
A little bit.
Good enough.
Hello? A little bit? Here and there.
You gotta sing to us.
I guess the mic must be over here on my ear.
Can you just maybe you can?
I can't switch it. It doesn't work if you just go to the phone. But
You gotta turn them
Oh,
off
well.
chill mode.
turn your hearing aid up.
You'll have to
Scott.
stand on your other shoulder.
Yeah.
Yeah,
man.
no.
How exciting.
Apparently people can't hear me.
Apparently people can't hear you.
Well, it's good to hear all of you. I'm going to talk real loud now.
There you go.
But let's kite your gliders more. That's my advice for active piloting.
Just more glider control is better.
Yeah.
He's really relaxing when you talk to him in person because it's like a whisper. It's just like, hey, Shane, how was your day?
Nice.
Did you get him
I
on?
didn't know I was a quiet talker.
Now you're going to have to be a loud tagger.
Trevor's quiet in the truck sometimes.
Trevor's in his feels right now.
Got you a present.
Did
Wanna
you?
open it live?
No, I don't want to open that one live.
Okay.
I have a feeling I know what that one is.
It's from Trevor. It's from Paramotor.
Oh man. Oh man. What do you have to say about the cut the hair? I think we should both grow it out.
Yeah, I mean, I always wanted, like, probably no one knows Tyler, but I always wanted like the long hair. And I haven't like committed to it. I get a little bit shorter than this 3 years in a row, and then I cut it off, and now I'm here and I can like kind of put it behind my ears now. And I'm not gonna cut it for a while, but one day I will, and then
It'll be
But
fine.
if you look at like Tom Kubat, it's like that's one of the sexiest men in paramotoring, I think.
Yeah.
That's sexy, man.
I mean, there's a strong correlation between
Virility
male
and hair.
beauty and virility and hair in the paramotor community. So
Because, like, look at me. I have no virility. I am hopeless as a man. You got to rock it while you can.
Dude, you may need to do that.
what does it say? Judson does a spot on.
You may need to give that one a.
What do I say?
You may just need to talk about that McFly, man.
Ponytail. Put it
Man bun. Man bun is back in.
I can do it. Yeah, it all tucks back there now.
Yeah.
We get it all up. Trevor and I ripped the.
Nice. There goes the AirPod.
Mhm.
All right, let's do one more spinny wheel.
All right, we're doing a spinning wheel.
This morning.
Trevor, what do you
What
want
are we giving away? Are we giving away Judson Graham? We're going to do a date with Judson Graham.
Oh, we're giving away a date with Judson Graham now.
Okay.
We'll give
I
away
called
another shit.
dibs. I rigged this thing.
Be careful, it screams at you once it picks a person.
Stephen English. Judson does a spot on Matt Minyard impression.
You gotta do it. Just send it.
Not true because Judson plays by the rules.
In the comment section,
Oh man.
What are we doing?
Ooh, I bet
Trevor,
Kelby,
shirt?
Kelby Cox. That's a name with virility right there.
Yeah, Kelby. Is it?
Right.
Told you to yell at you.
Why does it?
You can't put me in
I don't
charge
know
of
why
this.
it's
Well,
gross.
Kelby is a Resurgence PPG guy, and we just got him a wing, and he said, I think this week he's going to be working on a hang test with somebody down where he's from, down in Alabama,
All
Georgia.
right, let's
Alabama.
hear that Matt Minyard impression.
What do I
I've
have to
I've wanted to do a Matt Minyard impression to review a paramotor
Huh?
for a while. You know, like get my glasses upside down and be like, "Hey guys."
All right. So it's like, what do you have to? What do I do? Everyone puts me on the spot. Basically, start with y'all. Listen, I'm out here in Louisiana, and this here's my gin tar and my McFly, and bro, we just out here chilling, flying paramotors. Yeah, basically that.
It does sound like him.
Yep. Very good.
Sorry, Matt.
That's it. Spot on.
They got it. All right. I'm gonna.
Thanks, Trevor or Judson.
Hmm.
All right.
He
So
does an impression of
and-
that. I'm going to do the impression of an air boss kicking him out. No.
Uh-oh, we lost him.
he just
Oh,
tripped
now I
over.
finally get a chance to talk to Wheezy.
All
How
right.
you doing, Wheezy?
I'm good, Stephen. How are you?
No,
All right,
I'm-
if
I'm
Trevor comes
fantastic.
back, we're gonna call it a night. But I want to thank everybody, and if you can give Trevor and Judson a thumbs up, and us also, give us a thumbs up for the show tonight. We really appreciate you taking the time to sit with us tonight. I was just looking at the calendar for next week. We have a instructor from Lone Star going to be on, Cody Lee Smith. He's got a awesome story that I would like him to share, and it'd be nice to finally get to meet him. So stay
Yeah.
tuned for next week also.
Go check out Trevor's website.
Yep. And also I want to throw out a little plug for JB PPG. If you're looking for any unique online merchandise for paramotor pilots, he does shirts, he does cups, does all kinds of stuff. So check him out also.
Nice final stickers.
Yep. He's coming up to our fly-in, so we'll get to meet him, and he's talking about making some personalized mugs for Northern Lights Paramotor also. So that'll be cool. Trevor says he's on his way. Thank you, Daniel. Yes, it was a good show. Thank you all for bringing in the questions tonight.
Yeah, there were a lot of good questions.
Yeah.
And Trevor's really a great guest.
Yep.
Yeah, he's very entertaining.
He's not one of my favorites, but he was all right.
Yeah, he was
Oh, but we really appreciate all of you guys coming in each week. We got our regulars and some of the others coming in.
Yeah.
Also.
Oh, he said his phone stopped working.
All right. Well, we're past our 8 o'clock hour, so I guess we'll just say goodnight. And I know we can get Trevor back on the show sometime. So I know he loves us and loves our show, and we love him. So, all right,
We
guys.
don't see you on there. We'll see you in there. Yeah.
All right, guys. Fly safe.
Good night, everybody.
Nothing is untrue, nothing don't matter. It's all